So now let me go to our final speaker, who is Arnold, none other than Arnold August himself. I will just give a brief introduction and then Arnold will speak for about 5 minutes, and then we will go to questions and answers, the moment that I know a lot of members of the audience have been waiting for. So Arnold is a Montreal-based author and journalist who has an MA in political science from McGill. He has published 3 books on Cuba: The Groundbreaking Democracy in Cuba and the 1997-98 elections. The second is Cuba and Its Neighbours, Democracy in Motion, about which Fernando González Lort of the Cuban Five and president of ICAP writes, "The chapter on democracy in the US is among the best critical analyses I have read. There are elements of the democratic functioning of Cuban society that even I myself had not noticed." Finally, he wrote Cuba-US Relations, which, according to Dan Kovalik, or rather about which Dan Kovalik said, August is one of the foremost experts on Cuba and the 1959 revolution. Arnold is also a journalist and has published in English, Spanish, and French in North and South America, Europe, the Middle East, and India. In 2013, he won an award from the Cuban Union of Journalists. And in 2017, he was awarded the Cuban Friendship Medal by the Cuban State Council on the recommendation of ICAP. He also collaborates with Telesur, Cuban Television, and Press TV Iran. So Arnold, please go ahead.
Thank you, Radhika. First, I'd like to thank all of the people, Iranian and non-Iranians, who collaborate in putting this panel together. And I would have to say, like Radhika, I have learned so much just in this short period of exchanging with you on this panel, and going back some time when the translation of the book began into Farsi, dealing with the translators, the book publishers, and also with regards to the book launch in Tehran, getting to know from the inside what the Iranian Revolution or Islamic Revolution is all about. Now, myself and many other commentators, we are asserting that currently the world is going through a major world geopolitical reconfiguration. This is an important assertion, and I'd like to try to explain in 3-4 minutes what we mean by that, and it is the following. Firstly, in order to grasp that, we have to go out of the Iranian-Cuban exchange or situation, relationship, as we have been dealing up till now. And let us go further. For example, Iran and Venezuela. Iran has a special type of oil. It is very light, and it's used to blend sort of to dilute the very heavy oil that Venezuela produces, and to a large extent not valuable for exporting to other countries. So back in May 2020, Iran and Venezuela, both countries highly sanctioned by the United States, began the program of shipping through oil tankers on the high seas the Venezuelan light to be used by the Iranian light to be used by the Venezuelan oil industry in order to produce the oil that is good for exporting, for example, to Iran. So it is definitely a swap. But I'd like to bring to your attention, this was a major anti-imperialist action that started in May 2020 with these tankers going to Venezuela, as well as right up to date. And I don't know if anyone saw that footage from Telesur TV. It was quite inspiring. As these tankers were heading towards Venezuelan ports, they were escorted into those ports with the Venezuelan air and naval forces. So, when the reaction of the Venezuelan government, specifically President Maduro, he said, this Iranian-Venezuelan is an alliance, a revolutionary anti-imperialist alliance. Yes, it definitely is. Now, this type of exportation or exchange between the two countries has been going on since May 2020. Around a dozen ships went from Iran to Venezuela. Now, by January 2022, recently, Venezuela was able to announce that the production of their oil has doubled, despite the sanctions against Venezuela. This has major repercussions on the international scale. For example, what about Cuba? As a result of this, Cuba, who has suffered from these sanctions, which prohibited Venezuela from producing its oil and sending it to Cuba, since January 2022, my sources in Havana tell me that the exports of Venezuelan oil to Cuba has picked up drastically, and this is helping the very dire situation that Cuba is facing as a result of the Trump-Biden sanctions, as well as the pandemic and all that. So this is a very important point. And let us go a bit further in terms of other countries. We have the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, the Belt and Road Initiative, based on China, has since, in a recent period, incorporated Iran in this Belt and Road International Initiative based on China. Recently, Cuba has also joined. And very interestingly, just about a week ago, the Argentinian president traveled to Beijing in order to attend the Olympics there, despite all the pressures, I guess. And he met with President Xi of China. And what did they do? They signed a new pact of collaboration based on the Belt and Road Initiative. So this is, I think, and there's also, this is quite widespread. I read a recent article by our colleague, Carlos Martinez, in China, Socialist China. I will be putting in the chat later on, in which he points out something I didn't know and is not that well known, that since several years, since 2013, 21 of 33 countries in Latin America are involved in one way or another in this Belt and Road Initiative based in China. And then, let's go a bit further. There has been, Russia has carried out military exercises, joint military exercises with Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. And there's also in the South China Sea, other collaboration between Iran, China, and Cuba as well. So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that there's a major change coming up. It's not just major in terms of geographically, that is Asia, West Asia, and Latin America. That is the case, of course. But what is significant is the speed in which these new relations are taking place. Like just between January 2022 till date, many of the things that I described are actually taking place now at this time. And so I think that it's important to underline the importance of Iran, Cuba, and I'd also like to take the time to underline the importance of Socialist China, which is playing a very important role in assisting this international movement by Iran, Venezuela, and Cuba to oppose the hegemony of the US and put forward a pluriparty world against US hegemony. Thank you very much.